Darkness tightly compresses the space inside the cave. The fire is almost dead. Outside the stone entrance, rage, minus 35 degrees. The wind carries icy dust and death. Warm clothing, as we know it, does not exist. There are no supplies, no guarantees of tomorrow. Only the human body, habits, experience, and fear. Because this morning is not the start of ordinary life, but another test of survival. And this is exactly how a normal day began for a Cro-Magnon 30,000 years ago, in the very heart of the Ice Age, where every mistake meant death. And today, we will live through one such day, without decoration or romanticism, to see with our own eyes how these people woke up, stepped into the cold, hunted, worked together, and why they were able to adapt to the harshest conditions on Earth, survive as a species, and become our direct ancestors. While Neanderthals, despite their strength, massive bodies, and endurance, gradually vanished from history forever. Our hero wakes long before sunrise. He is 28 years old, and at first glance he looks no different from a modern human. The same body proportions, the same gait, the same facial features. Yet his body is hardened not by comfort, but by constant struggle with the environment, since from childhood he has survived in icy conditions, constant food scarcity, and daily long treks of many kilometers. His muscles are lean and enduring, his lungs accustomed to freezing air. His heart beats calmly yet ready, joints able to withstand the heaviest loads, skin toughened by wind and cold, and his mind is focused on awareness and quick reaction, because any mistake can cost him his life. And he wakes among a large cave where about 40 people live. And this dwelling is far from chaotic, as the space is divided into sleeping areas, fire zones, food preparation, meat and hide processing, tool and resource storage. Every person knows their role and function from childhood. Men prepare for hunting and making weapons. Women manage food, clothing, children, and maintain order. Elders teach the young and pass down experience, and the entire community functions as a single organism, where the strength of one individual means nothing without coordinated cooperation, discipline, and mutual support from all members of the group. The survival technology of the Cro-Magnons becomes evident immediately after morning, when the hero and other community members begin preparing clothing and tools for the day's challenges. Because the ability to make layered clothing from fur, sew it with bone needles, and stitch seams with sinew turned the cold from an enemy into an ally, while Neanderthals merely draped skins over their bodies that did not retain heat and quickly became wet. Cro-Magnons crafted complex garments with inner linings and outer protective layers, every seam precise and able to withstand extreme frost and wind. Tools for processing hides were made from bone, flint, and wood. Sinew served as thread. Sharp bone needles allowed them to sew not only clothing, but also mittens and footwear, protecting hands and feet from frostbite. And the entire process was not merely craftsmanship, but a matter of life and death, because the accuracy of seams, the thickness of fur layers, and correct use of materials determined whether a person survived a freezing night or whether their body would succumb to the cold. And this expertise was passed from elders to the young through practice, teaching, and observation, creating an invisible chain of knowledge that made Cro-Magnons adaptable to the harshest conditions. And these technologies, combined with discipline, social structure, and coordinated teamwork, were the key to the species' survival. Hunting a mammoth is not just about physical strength. It is the result of complex strategy, coordination, and deep understanding of animal behavior. The morning begins with preparing weapons, the primary among them being the spear thrower, seemingly simple, but allowing spears to be thrown over great distances, reducing risk for hunters. And while some members of the group sharpen spear tips, others practice maintaining balance on uneven ground, coordinating movements with the team, and sensing even the slightest breath of air from the animal. The hunter's strategy is based on mammoth psychology. The group splits into drivers who herd the animal toward a trap, and spear throwers who strike precisely from the sides, avoiding direct confrontation, and every movement, gesture, or signal, even the sound of stone, matters, because the animal is enormous, powerful, and unpredictable. And only the coordinated work of all community members allows control over its movements, steering it toward the intended path. The hunt is accompanied not only by physical effort, but by immense psychological pressure. Fear, adrenaline, focus, and mutual trust determine success or death. And when the moment comes, the drivers lead the mammoth directly to the spear throwers, who strike in a synchronized blow. And the success is not in brute force, but in understanding, planning, patience, teamwork, and knowledge of nature. Because every person knows their role so precisely that any mistake could cost the whole group their lives. And after the hunt, it also becomes a learning moment. Younger members observe, memorize techniques, speed, and tactics, ensuring the transmission of knowledge to the next generation and the continuity of the species' survival. After a long day of survival, once the mammoth has been secured, the community returns to the cave, and the evening transforms into a time of culture, learning, and socialization, where every member participates in rituals that combine art and magic. Because cave paintings are not mere decoration, but a way to transmit knowledge, experience, and past fears. Mark territory and ensure success in future hunts. Music from simple instruments, such as bone bracelets or primitive flutes, creates rhythm and harmony, unites the community, while the first domesticated dogs assist not only in hunting, but also in protecting the dwelling and resources. The exchange of goods between caves and tribes becomes the basis of trade and social connections and evening conversations. Teaching the young and sharing stories form the emotional and cultural foundation that strengthens cooperation and trust, because the survival of the species depends not only on physical strength or technology, but also on the ability to work together, support each other, transmit experience, and preserve knowledge. And this time, filled with laughter, learning, and magic, becomes the most valuable moment when the community rests, strengthens bonds, and prepares for the next day of battling cold, hunger, and danger. At the end of the day, when the fire in the cave has nearly died down, and the shadows from the flames slowly crawl across the walls, it becomes clear that Cro-Magnon survival did not depend on the strength of an individual, on great muscular power, or on individual achievements, but on the ability to act as a single mechanism where everyone knows their place and role, passes down knowledge, supports others, and works together. Because any mistake could cost the entire group their lives, and the ability to coordinate hunts, process prey, make clothing, and transmit technologies and knowledge from elders to the young ensured the survival of the species. And when looking at cave paintings, listening to the rhythm of simple musical instruments, or observing teamwork, it becomes evident that Cro-Magnons survived thanks to collective intelligence, discipline, ingenuity, and social support. And this realization casts a philosophical light on the present, reminding us that our modern skills in collaboration, learning from one another, and organizing into teams come from these ancient practices, that survival is always a shared endeavor rather than an individual one. And even today, when facing challenges from work projects to complex life situations, the strength of the community, mutual aid, knowledge sharing, and adaptability remain critically important, reminding us that we continue the legacy of the Cro-Magnons, and that survival and success have always been based on teamwork, support, and collective intelligence. After the day ends, the hunt is over, the fire is dying down, and the community rests. Cro-Magnon survival depended not only on physical strength or technology, but on teamwork, mutual support, knowledge sharing, and the ability to act in perfect coordination under any circumstance. And it's easy to imagine how a modern person, lost among frost, icy winds, predators, and darkness, with coffee, traffic jams, taxes, and smartphones, would hardly survive without the support of a group. Because even a simple movement, a planning mistake, or an ill-considered step could cost life. And at the same time, it emphasizes that true survival has always been a collective effort, where the strength of one individual is powerless against the forces of nature and danger, and only the ability to work together, support one another, share knowledge, and invent new strategies ensures survival. It's easy to laugh at how today we imagine ourselves indispensable, thanks to smartphones and conveniences, forgetting that even in the modern world, complex situations often require teamwork, cleverness, and mutual support. And that is why the day ends not just with rest, but with a celebration of interaction and humor, light laughter over hardships, memories of victories and failures, reminding that each of us is part of a larger community, where the strength of an individual always complements the strength of all, and the conclusion of the day becomes an emotional and humorous call to action. Like, subscribe, share thoughts. Imagine how we would survive the Ice Age without warm pants and gadgets. And remember that true survival, even today, depends on how well we can unite, act together, and support one another in any situation.